In a world where nothing is known, nothing is certain, reality is not real. Wake up! Be afraid of nothing. I'm Bob Heskey.
Robert.
The host with the ghost.
This is my podcast, based on my paranormal documentary, Afraid of Nothing. Each episode, we talk to people who see life and the afterlife through a different lens. Join me.
Who is this large man? And what's he doing in our bedroom?
As we lift the veil and open our minds to see beyond our eyes lie. This is Afraid of Nothing.
Okay, I'm here with Brandie Wells. I mean, I could try to describe you, Brandie, but you do so many things. I think it's best if I leave it to you to introduce yourself.
Yeah, hello everyone. I am Brandie Wells, compassionate clairvoyant. I own BW Enterprises in downtown Keene, New Hampshire. And under BW Enterprises, I have a lot of fun. I actually really love my work. I own a retail store right on Main Street in Keene. And it's a hippie store, but I sell all kinds of things from tea to crystals. And it really just opens up my community to the tools for healing themselves. So that's one thing that is very dear to my heart, is my retail store. And people know it. A lot of people come in just for the energy of the store. They want to come in and just be at peace, get grounded. So that's one element.
So interjecting real quickly, it's not just a place to visit. You get a ton of mail order because we were talking today, like today's Patriots Day, and you had like a room full of boxes and shipments that you were getting ready to fill out.
Not until this crisis we were in. I have a very large clientele from not only my store, but my clients that I connect with in my work as a clairvoyant, and they really just have my back right now. I'm selling mystery boxes from my store, and it's a box of goods that are from the store. It's about $70 value for $40. And it's really just intended to also just send that love and light out to the world. I've been mailing things all over from California. Today was Idaho, Texas. Yeah, so people are just really trying to support my small business.
You know, we're going to mention it at the end, but why don't you mention it right now while we have people's attention? What's the website for your store and the name of it?
Yeah, so it's Soul Emporium Keene, and my website is soulemporium.net. And people are ordering on the website as well. But my big push right now is, trying to pay the rent. It's really hard in this crisis. I'm not considered an essential business, although my clients would say different.
Yeah, and that kind of, that's just one facet of who you are, because there's other things you are, which is like, we'll go into the compassionate clairvoyant in a second, but you also have your own production house, correct? You want to talk about 555 Productions?
Yeah, so I started that about 5 years ago when I stepped into this field, and my goal was to really help people understand that spirit is everywhere. And although there are locations that are more active, spirit is everywhere. So I started the 555 in locations that are deemed haunted, but I also host them at residential locations that are in need of assistance with figuring out why spirit's making itself known. And the 555 actually stands for 5 hotspots within a location, and I have 5 different team members, and they will set up and we all investigate at the same time. And it is absolutely amazing what ends up happening. And we do this for 5 hours. So that's where the 555 came from. It's evolved. I kind of bend and move with what people are really looking for as well. But that's why I started it. And we were filming all of it to begin with. Now I just collect what other people are filming and share the evidence with people. These are their experiences with spirit, and they like the thrill of, what they captured and sharing it after. So the 555 is really, for me, a place to teach people their own abilities, teach people how spirit is everywhere, learn why spirit's making itself known. And I also bring in a lot of scientific equipment. I have some of the most amazing, they're friends now, but they're investigators that I had initially called in to start doing these investigations with me and filming them. And I see them as very social events. I always say people come as strangers and leave as friends. I love the social aspect and the friendships that are formed in investigating.
That group, is it the STURS group, STURS? Is that the group that you're talking about, or?
Yeah, they join me on occasion. Steve and Naomi are amazing. Their entire team is amazing. And I love everyone on their team. They're so knowledgeable and friendly, and people really enjoy when they're there. So I tap in on them once in a while. I have some other people that I work with. I kind of just open up for whatever calls me, for different locations.
It's funny you mentioned it. It's kind of like a communal thing. I buying a house in between. I'm living in Webster at my sister's house, and lo and behold, like 20 minutes away is the Conjuring House, in Harrisville, Rhode Island. And I was invited there during the day, fortunately, because at night I'm sure the vibe's a lot tougher. You know Louis Escalera, probably. I don't know if you're familiar with
Yes.
Louis. Yeah. So he was there that day. It was great. We got to follow him around. Yeah, it was exactly what you said. People came in. It was like potluck. They brought a bunch of food and all that stuff, and we did an investigation and walked around. And it was very communal, and people I didn't know afterwards, keeping in touch with on social. So, and this isn't one of the most terrifying places. Fortunately, it's during the day. At night, it's a lot worse, apparently. But
I'm going to be going there soon. I'm actually excited about it.
Really?
Yeah, it's a location I haven't been to.
First time?
Yeah, I haven't been there yet. But as soon as I booked it that night, I ended up having a dream premonition, and it was so interesting because I've never dreamt of Naomi. And I had a dream, and Naomi actually had a spirit walk through her. And I told her about it the next day. I don't know what that was about.
Wow.
And she's actually going to be at the event with us when we go.
So do not listen to episode 12 and 13, because that's with Louis, where he does a walkthrough. It'd be interesting after you do your event, if you haven't listened to it already, to see what he found, if that jives with what you got.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you going at night, or?
Yep, it'll be an evening event. I usually open them up to the public and limit it to 12 people. And those 12 people are really invested in gathering that evidence, having that experience. So I'm looking forward to it. But I'm going to be honest, I mentioned this to you earlier off air, that I don't really pay attention to what other people are doing, or media or TV shows. I am so consumed in my own work that I don't really follow it. So I am going to the Conjuring House completely untouched by I don't even know what I'm getting myself into yet. And I don't want to know. That's what I love about my work, is not being influenced and really getting that real raw connection. So I'll definitely listen after. I want to see what Louis picked up on. He's very talented.
Oh, he's amazing. So I will just not say anything. I'll just say you're going to have quite an experience. Is John Huntington going to be with you in your group that night?
Yes. John is.
Yeah, he's great with you.
He's one of my really good friends. I love John, and he's so talented with the spirit box. I keep telling him he doesn't even see it. He is definitely a medium, but he wouldn't identify that.
Well, they certainly talk to him a lot. That's for sure. I mean,
yes,
if they check out his channels online, his YouTube videos, one has like over 300,000 hits. So yeah. Oh, you're gonna have fun. I'd like to almost have you back after that to find out, how it went, if you don't mind.
Yeah, I'd be open for it.
What's your typical crew like? What's like when you go to the Conjuring House? How many people go with you? Is it you have a core crew with you, and then other people that pay for the event, or how does it work?
Yeah, so I usually set it up, and I will ask a nice balance of intuitives and scientific-based investigators that I call team leads, and we'll set up in the hot spots of the location or where we're drawn. Usually I'll break up into like floors or areas so we can't influence each other with noise as well. When you get into more of the social aspect, it's really hard to get that untainted evidence. It's like every little whisper and walk, it's hard to get it. So I try to really spread out, and then we'll run on a rotation. And I think it's really fun to have a variety of different equipment, experiments. And then we come back together at the end of the night, talk about what we discovered. One of my favorite stories is It's actually a location I'm going to be back in August, actually with Team Stirs as well, if anyone's interested. I think we only have like 5 spots left. But it's at the Kimball Jenkins Estate in Concord, New Hampshire. And this is, I think, my 4th or 5th time back. I absolutely love that location. There's nothing negative or it's just very active. All right. It's active. Spirit loves having us. They're very respectful. We're respectful with them. And my favorite story is the first time I went there, and it was in the beginning of me starting the 555. We were in 5 different spots, and it's a 3-house estate. So there's a carriage barn, the original home, and then the manor. And we were all investigating, and the groups all switched, and they all, when they switched, told me, like each one after told me that in the first group that everyone was in, there was a man named Roger that was coming through either through dowsing rods or talking through a spirit box, or somebody picked up on a man and they described the man as they were tuning into him. And it all aligned. And it was the man who was the tender of the horses, and he wore a top hat and he smoked a pipe, and his name was Roger. So later on that evening, when we're all talking about this woman said, you're describing a man we have a photo of. And she goes and opens the drawer. Lo and behold, his name was Roger. He was with the original property. And it's when they first built the property, he was the man who took care of all the horses. He shoed them. He was the blacksmith. He was also a saddle maker. He did everything. And he showed up for every single group. It was the coolest thing. So that's the kind of thing I love, is that this wasn't just a one-person experience. We all brought the validation. So that's why I love that group. That aspect of it it's awesome, because you're really validating each other's connections.
So do you have, like in your 555, are there 5 psychic mediums, or do you have one person focuses on EVPs, one person is a dowsing rod person? How do you break up the 555 as your kind of personnel?
Yeah, it's always very intuitive. That's my main tool. And what I teach others is your body is the best tool. Everyone's intuitive. Everyone has the ability to connect to the spirit realm. So I mainly focus on experiments where I'm teaching people how to connect, because some people are more audio clairvoyant. Some people are empaths. There's so many different ways to sense and feel spirit. So I focus more on dowsing and experiments. But the other people, depending on who's available and, what's going on, it's always the perfect balance. Steve and Naomi, they've been investigating so long, and I think it's really neat because I've watched them, even over the last 5 years, really develop their own skills in connecting to their psychic abilities. So they're using equipment, but they're also starting to feel a lot more. And I think it's neat to watch that. You always need to come in as skeptic. You've got to really look at it from many different angles. But when you start really honing in on what you're capable of, it's a muscle. The more you do it, the better you become. So there's always a great balance. I love pulling out the spirit box. I love playing with some other equipment. For me, it's more intuitive when I'm using the equipment. I certainly am not a techie. But it's intriguing to have that, to validate what you're picking up on.
What sounds really cool about what you do is you're not just a conduit that just tells people what you're picking up. It sounds like when you do these events, you try to have your audience sense and pick up stuff too, and you try to teach them. Is that accurate?
I am a teacher for sure.
Beautiful. That's great.
That is the most exciting thing for me, to watch someone as they discover something about themselves that they didn't know they were capable of. I do a lot of teaching. I actually do a lot of interactive learning in the beginning of some of my events. And my favorite one recently, I was at the S.K. Pierce Victorian Mansion, and I was teaching people how to read each other's auras, and I had them keep switching. I actually did a meditation. I had them say their name. I went through all these steps to do it. And this man, and it was an actual drawing, an outline of a body, and you had to write where all the colors were. And after, this man was like, I did not even know I could do that. I am in awe. Like he was a complete skeptic. But once I guided him to this, he was just, it was awesome. I was like, yes. I always say breaking a skeptic is like breaking a horse.
Yeah.
It's like the best thing.
That's funny. Next time you're there, you got to let me know. I'd like, because I'm actually moving to Westminster and I know that house well. I've been there. I actually took a class from Ken and Mimi. They did Ken and Mimi Watson, like with dowsing rods. I was surprised, the pendulum and the dowsing rods. I mean, same thing. I feel like I'm a tunnel vision guy. But I was taking the class and I was surprised how natural it came. So it was really a good experience when someone can teach you to kind of, because I can't tell you how many people I talk to that feel like they think they may have something, but they're not quite sure. They don't know how to get in touch with it. And I think they're kind of pining for a person like you to help them kind of open up their third eye and kind of get connected with something there's a veil separating them from.
Right. And it's kind of neat. We're talking about the SK Pierce. I actually have an event coming up and it's unique. I've never done it, but I was channeling this idea. As a hypnotist, I have been really working on helping people change their mindset and reprogram them to trust their own abilities. And I'm actually doing a para-hypnosis event there where I'm going to bring people into a state of hypnotism where they can recall the information and then investigate, but you're not allowed to use tools. It's only what you're sensing, feeling, and really intuitively picking up on. So I'm really excited about that. It's very unique. I am an angelic healer, so I only go into all of my work guided by the divine. It's always in the highest good. A lot of times people ask me, how are you investigating and doing that paranormal work if you're an angelic healer? I'm like, well, what better thing to be? I mean, I'm going in and I'm protected by the divine. And spirit knows this, so I always attract the highest vibrating beings. I don't have negative encounters.
Tell us when this date is. Might as well just give us a little plug for that, the date.
So this I had to move because of our current crisis, and it's on May 29th, and I do have a few spots left open for that. It is a hypnosis experience, so hypnosis is guided, not forced. You have to want it. A lot of times people will come to me and say, well, I can't be hypnotized. And I'm like, well, if that's what you believe, you're already blocking yourself from it. Hypnotism is really like, you have to be open to it and you have to want it.
What percentage of people do you think are unable to be hypnotized or have a hard time doing it? Is it a pretty high amount?
Well, I think the question would more be the level of hypnotism where you're recalling information that is attainable. So when you go to school, you're being hypnotized. You go in without the knowledge, you leave with the knowledge. So you're moving from the subconscious to the conscious mind. You believe the information and you absorb it. So the level of hypnotism that I bring people into in order to have that deep experience is the Delta state. And I would say...
Could you explain what the Delta state is?
So there are several states of hypnotism. I typically will go bring people into Delta, sometimes Theta. And I'm going to try to explain this to you, but the brain waves can go into different frequencies, okay? So like the dream state is Delta state. And that is one of the deepest states that you can go into. So, okay, here's a way to explain this. Okay, so the 4 that I work with when I'm doing hypnotism is like the normal, alert, conscious mind. This is you, let's say, like going to school. You're thinking, you're absorbing information, you know where you need to go. You get to your class, you sit down, you're absorbing, you're participating, okay? The subconscious is moving into the consciousness. You're a willing participant. When you move into alpha state, it's when you're like relaxing, you're calm, and you kind of let go of thinking and you just absorb the information. And that's when you're learning. So we go into alpha when we are learning. And then when I am helping people get into a deeper state, so this is like when imagery comes up. Okay, so here's a really cool example. When you're in theta, that is when you're creating. So you know how artists, it's like, how do they pull that from their mind? How do they do that? They are in a state of imagery, deep relaxation, meditation, called theta, and you can naturally go into that state on your own. But when I'm helping people go into this state, it's when their imagination starts going into activation. And that's when they start having the visualizations and the experiences, and the subconscious mind is calm, and you can start working with the consciousness. So then the deepest state, and there's even deeper states, but the one that I bring people to is delta. And it's like dreamless sleep. It is a deep state of hypnosis where I'm leading people, and I actually talk the whole time I'm connecting. I do group hypnosis, I do individual hypnosis, I do interactive hypnosis. I do hypnosis where I am actually helping people connect to their loved ones and actually invite them in to visit with them and bring them messages. I do hypnosis to break negative thought cycles, quit smoking, break bad habits. It's essentially like reprogramming and connecting to your higher self. So there's beta, alpha, theta, delta. Delta being the deepest, beta being normal, alert consciousness.
When I think of hypnosis, I think typically of being hypnotized to kind of be introspective and to go into myself, like maybe some blockage from my past that I can't deal with, or going to a past life. But it sounds like you deal with hypnosis on two levels. There's going outside of the person to connect with spirit or some spirits around that person to draw them in. But you can also do a B version, which is you can go into yourself and connect with yourself. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's accurate. I haven't thought about it that way, but that is what I'm doing. I call my work, anytime I'm doing any soul journey work, which is about self, it's about your soul's journey. I call it soul hypnosis. And so that's tapping into your past life, life between lives, and meeting your future self. So that's one whole element that I do that to me I just love it. I can't even tell you. I always tell people it's almost like opening a present at the end of a session, because listening to what someone experienced is the most phenomenal thing. I love it. So it's fascinating.
You had me leaning forward to my mic when you said future self. So people actually, they know what their future self is going to be like. Can you kind of go into that a little bit?
Sure. So when I do those sessions, one-on-one, I'm able to do interactive hypnosis, meaning someone is in a hypnotized state, but we're having a conversation. So I'll actually talk to them, guide them through, and the goal is with future self, how do we unlock those issues and see how we work through them? So let's say that you are really struggling in your marriage and you are financially not in the best place, and you have these big goals to open your own business. And all of that energy maybe feels stuck right now. So if I bring you into future self, I would bring you 1 year from now, then 5 years from now, and then 10 years from now if it's appropriate. Sometimes I don't get there. Sometimes we hear all the answers 5 years from now. And basically what I do is I take you on a journey of looking at yourself at that time. And then we start saying, well, how did that work out? Where is your marriage? What did you hear? Recently, I did this with someone and they said, I'm actually being very selfish and I'm not even paying attention to his needs right now. I'm really hearing that in order to fix this, I have to work on myself. And it's like amazing. They're talking about this and I'm taking the notes, I'm recording the session. They can reflect on it later, but then they look at themselves and they go, wow, like I actually have some work to do on myself in order to fix this. And I'll even get details like I'm not relaxing enough at the end of the day. And so I'm wound up all the time. And so I'm projecting my energy at my husband. And I really need to learn how to let go so I can be a better person, a better wife.
I could have used that about a year ago, just got divorced. It's funny. You mentioned, and what you said was just about me actually, because it's like there was all these money problems, feeling kind of like stuck and,
Am I tuning in on you? I wasn't supposed to be doing a live reading.
Yeah, I know. She's totally got it. And I have to admit, one mea culpa about me is when I was thinking future self, I was thinking like next lifetime. But what you just said makes total sense that like,
yes,
you can talk to people about their, is that possible too, to find out what someone's next lifetime will be?
I haven't tried it yet, but now you're going to get my mind going here. I'm an idea person. I am constantly bringing new energy. So that's a good one. I may try to integrate that into one of my sessions.
Since you're tuning into me, make me your first client when you do that. Okay, cool. Yeah. Okay. That's awesome. Yeah. The hypnosis is just one small part, but it's a huge part. It's very interesting. Could do a whole show on that. So that's fantastic. Let's, if you don't mind, go on to some of the other stuff that you do, which is, what is a compassionate clairvoyant?
So when I started out in my field, the first thing I did was tap into angelic healing. I mean, I honestly, my journey to my work is, I think everyone who is a spiritualist will tell you, your journey is your own. I worked with individuals with disabilities for 20 years. For the last 5 years of that, I ran a community center for the disabled and the homeless. My first job was in a nursing home. I've worked with the elderly in between part-time, running different events and activities with the elderly. I honestly am called to heal other people. And I have always led my life with compassion. Even when I was a kid, I always knew that one child in my class who was being abused or who was unloved, and I was finding ways to lift them up. So stepping into my field as an angelic healer was very natural for me. The way it all happened was crazy, but I look back and I felt like my life was a whirlwind, but it set me on the perfect path to where I am now. So I really think that as a clairvoyant, which is different than being a psychic medium, is really about looking at a person as a field of energy and a human experience. So I am not just doing mediumship, which is connecting to the spirit realm. I'm looking at people as a field of energy, and I find within that energy body, what is it that needs healing? What do you need at this time to open that energy to live your best life? So I do a lot with psychic messaging, medical intuition. I connect to animals, both living and past. I connect people to their past loved ones. I connect them to their life purpose. I help people open up their money flow. I help with legal issues. I do a lot with animal totem. I am 7th generation to Native American in my area. So I do connect a lot to shamanism, although it's not integrated into my practice. And, I'm also really focused on helping people with the law of attraction, which ties right in with hypnotism, changing the way you think. So I am integrating a lot of different things into my work, and I just let spirit lead me in sessions. So compassionate clairvoyant is leading it's really for me like leading my work with compassion and opening to the energy body to live your best life. So whatever it takes to do that is what I do.
You just mentioned there's a ton of stuff that you do, and so I have I have to filter my questions down, but who teaches you all these things that you just kind of rattled off? Is it spirit, or is there a mentor, a human mentor that you have as well?
Yeah. When I first started my work, I couldn't take enough classes and courses in angelic healing, mediumship. It's vast, all the different, I did angelic healing, angelic mediumship. I became a certified hypnotist. I did palmistry. I mean, it's like anything I could get my hands on that I was drawn to, I was trying to learn. But most of what I do now, it's all channeled information. I mean, it's crazy the amount of channeling that I do. As a hypnotist, it was really neat because I didn't realize I've been hypnotizing myself for about 5 years. So I go into a higher state of being. I actually go into Delta state as I channel messages for people. And I use automatic writing as my divination. That's mainly how I receive information now. So I channel messages as I go into self-hypnosis. And that's how I get all of this information.
That can be terrifying though, right? I know some people that have had experiences where they channeled and they were just overtaken by something and they couldn't get rid of it.
Right. I'm a control freak, just so you know, and I won't let that happen. I will allow it when I'm doing cold cases because you need full disclosure. And I allow full channeling. My voice will change. I will completely go from the victim, and then my energy, as soon as the victim has crossed or the victim, is discovered, whatever it is, my energy will flip to the perpetrator. And all of a sudden I'm them. And then we hear more about what happened and how it unfolded. So when I'm channeling, I am very careful about the level of channeling I'm doing. I do enough to get the information, to interpret it, to feel it. And sometimes I do get a little too deep into it, and I'll actually start feeling the full physical effect of what the person was going through. So typically when I'm doing mediumship, I'll call the loved one to me. I'll listen to someone as they say this person's name, or say, I'll say, maybe I'm picking up on a father, and I can feel this father coming in. So I'll say, can you please say your name, and then say my father. And it connects to the ethereal cord, the cord of energy between them. And that vibration helps me link in or connect to their energy. And then I start channeling. And so sometimes that loved one will come in, and I will start feeling pressure on my chest, and then my left arm hurts, and I start feeling shooting pain. And it's like, oh, okay, this man's telling me he had a heart attack. Or I'll feel like I'm very tired. And then I start picking up on a female coming in, and she'll make me feel tired. And then I'll feel certain sensations in my body, and I'll say, okay, there's something that was going on with her kidneys, and where her kidneys are, there's energy there. So I do allow channeling to where I let spirit tell a story, but I have my limits, and I always do cleansing work after. I mean, I don't go into this work willy-nilly. I mean, it's a sacred space. I actually ground my energy. I do a meditation to go into hypnosis, and I do the same with my sitter. I'm not Teresa Caputo. I don't walk around wide open. I am very careful about my energy, and I also think that it's important to honor that the sitter is a participant in this. So you can't just read people and pull energy unless they're open to it as well.
Hello, listeners. I want to play a game. But first, a disturbing interruption to our podcast.
Whoa, Annabelle, you look normal.
Oh, hey, Bob. With all this great sleep I'm getting on my All's Well mattress, I can't help but feel good.
Yeah, used to be an evil doll. Now you're a good doll.
Thanks, Bob. Chalk it up to this hybrid mattress technology. I get the comfort of memory foam with the support of individually wrapped coils, all at a comfortable price.
You can even try it for 100 nights, risk-free. And if you're not satisfied with the sleep that you're getting, simply ship it back.
No way, Bob. I'm never giving up this All's Well mattress, even though it comes with a 10-year limited warranty. I even got free shipping with my first All's Well mattress simply by following the link in the show notes.
And you supported the podcast. Sweet. Man, your mattress is even more comfortable than mine.
Bob, get off my bed.
Okay, Miss Cranky Pants.
All's well. Never be afraid of a good night's sleep.
And now, back to our horrific program.
So when you're channeling and you're kind of watching or monitoring, are you like outside of your body kind of monitoring this, or what's it like? Can you see yourself being taken over? And are you observing it, from outside of yourself?
No, I actually will feel like I'm that person. Sometimes I feel like I'm getting really tall, or like a really funny thing I do, and people laugh, who've come to me many times. Sometimes I'll start like itching my beard, or standing the way the person stood, or making looks like they did. So I channel enough to get the essence of them, but I actually feel like I become them. That's what a medium is, the person between heaven and earth giving themselves up to spirit. They're the medium. So when I first started my work and I was really delving into it, I had this one day that I had channeled message for a loved one that had committed suicide. It was a really hard session, and I went really deep into my channeling. After I was done with the session, I didn't ground my energy or like do enough cleansing work, and I went to go get lunch. I walk out of my office and I'm walking down the street, and all of a sudden my feet stopped. My feet completely stopped, and I actually saw myself come up the top of my head, and I almost fell on my face. It was the weirdest thing I have ever had happen.
Oh my God.
And after that, I sat with meditation. I asked Spirit what happened, and I was so ungrounded that my soul actually hopped up out of my body. I was doing like what they call, there's a few different ways to say this, but it's like astral projection, like the soul leaving the body.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that if you've ever done that before.
Yeah, well, when I was young, I mean, this is a whole other topic. I mean, this is a whole other show. But when I was young, I was 8 years old, I actually had a UFO experience. And I think that's what changed my life forever.
And was that when you became aware and had this kind of...
That's when I started astral projecting. I was like 8, and I used to close my eyes and leave my body and come back. I could literally look down at myself.
Now, all right, and I know it's another show, but just to ask, because it's a little bit of a tease.
Yes, it is.
We'll
Sorry.
have you back. We'll have you back. Now, just to, so does that, I mean, it's the only question I'll ask is, do you keep having visitations, or did it stop?
No.
Okay.
It was a one-time thing. Actually, if anyone ever wanted to look it up, it's called the Zeller experience. If you look it up online, it was not just me. It was like in my town.
Wow.
Zeller was an officer that was on site, saw the UFO, described it exactly the way I saw it. It was actually in my yard, but when I was little, I knew that it wasn't just one. I think there was a whole fleet of them, and that's why so many people had experiences. But it looked like a Tic Tac. This is seriously so cliche. It looked like a Tic Tac. It was oval, and it was like opalescent white. So it was like sideways like a Tic Tac, and it had 3 lights on it. It came down to my window. I yelled to my mom. She didn't believe my yell was, important. The moment I yelled, it came closer within a millisecond. I mean, it was like snap your fingers, and it was right in front of my window. And my mom came down the hallway, and the moment I had yelled and it came up to me, it tipped towards me like a dog, almost like it was curious. Like it was so weird. I remember all of it. And then it hummed, and the hum moved through my entire body and through my house. And my mom was coming down because I was like, I yelled, "Mom." And then I was like, "Mom,"
Yeah.
and that was it. And it all happened in seconds, but then it kind of zipped off, and my mom saw like the end of it, and that was it. But she felt the hum through the house.
How big was the Tic Tac?
So as a kid, everything seems bigger, but I would say it was like 10 feet wide.
Okay. Wow.
That's it.
Huh. All right. Wow. And what town was this in?
Keene, New Hampshire. So if you ever want to look it up, it's just interesting. The officer is still in this area, and I've thought about connecting with him and asking him, because someone called in that there was an unidentified flying object over the highway. So he went on site, and it was right there, and he was standing in the road looking at it, and it was right in front of him.
Oh my God. All right. Wow.
Yeah.
All right. So look, we're already 40 minutes in. It's crazy. I could talk to you for another 3 hours.
I know. Crazy,
Yeah,
right?
When you see people, when you look at people, is it auditory, visual? I mean, what type of, when you look at someone, do all your senses kick off, or is it one more than the other?
So I am an empath before anything, and an empath feels the emotions of others. People don't realize that, we are a field of energy in a human experience, and your energy body expands way beyond your physical body. I mean, you walk around, you've got like 5 feet from the center of you. But then you think of someone, and that focused thought is also energy. And that is also a way to connect to people. Like energy is so expansive. It can't dissipate. It can split and divide, but it can't dissipate. And I will feel before anything. So it's more of an empath message, which is really picking up on someone's emotional well-being. And then from there, I can typically, if I'm just standing in a conversation with someone and I start picking up on something, I will feel the emotion around something, and then I'll get pulled to, I'm very specific because I've been doing this work for a while. Your left side of your being is your feminine, your right is your masculine, but your left is attached to your mother, your right to your father. And so anyone who shows up in your family, they're aligned with your energy field, and that's where they'll come in as you're looking at them. Friends, cousins, acquaintances are always forward of that, almost like another layer right in front of your direct family. Your left side, for me, left side of your being, when I'm looking at someone, that is all the energy that comes in. And their right side is where I will typically pick up on past life energy. And that's the way that I receive. I mean, different mediums may have different things, that they do, but that's how I'm able to identify who's coming in. Your spirit guides, guardian angels, higher self is always behind you. They're the ones pushing you along in life. They're nudging you. So they're always right behind your energy field. So that's how I see someone when I'm connecting.
Is there a specific angel that you've connected with? You mentioned you're kind of an angel medium. Is there one like Archangel Michael or Raphael, or is there one specific angel that you've connected to?
Yeah, I connect to about 16 of the archangels. I always explain getting to know an archangel is like getting to know a friend. Like they want to help you. So the more you get to know them, what their skill set is and how they can help you, the easier it is to move through life. The archangels want to work for us. It's the coolest thing once you start really learning what they're capable of doing for you. I work with what I call the 4 pillars. It's the 4 archangels that are constantly surrounding people. And that is Michael. I see him as the ultimate archangel. The archangels are universal, like they're not tied to any religion. And that's why I find it the best way to relate to others, because then I'm not bound to any religion. I am open. If you are walking in the light, I don't really care. I don't care if you're Christian, Jewish. I don't care. For me, the angels are so universal that it doesn't matter. And that's why I love working with the angelic realm. So Michael is a protector. He cuts away our fear. He gives us courage. He really sets out a path for you. Archangel Raphael is the healer of body, mind, and spirit. Gabriel is the angel of communication, creativity, and maternal love. That's the angel I connect with the most when I'm doing my work because it's all about communication. So I usually have this angel helping me as I'm channeling. And the other angel I work with a lot, and I have quite a few, so I have a hard time with this 4th pillar here, but it's Uriel. And Uriel is the angel of lighting the way to the future. This angel will lay out a path so you can see what's next. It helps to make decisions and open up energy for new things. And then the last archangel I want to talk about is Zadkiel. It's Zadkiel. That's the angel of transmutation. This angel moves the negative to the positive, which is something we all need on the earth realm. So I work with this angel a lot when people have trauma or PTSD.
He's busy right about now, I'm going to think, right, with the whole COVID. Another question's coming up is the whole, your senses must be flying off the skids right now with all the COVID stuff. Is it?
Yes.
Is there? Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about that? And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt on that last one, but it just seemed like that angel would be especially busy right now. How has your practice changed in the past couple months with all that's going on? Has it kind of more and more people reaching out has it been, as an empath, it must be crushing to you at some times. What's it been like for you?
I am very overwhelmed right now. I'm going to be honest with you. People really need healers, and I am so overwhelmed that I can't even get to all of my clients. I have a self-booking system. So I decided to just run a promo for 15-minute mini reads that are very fast, powerful. It's like fast and furious message. And it's really just to help people get grounded and gain some security, connect to a loved one, whatever it is they need right now to get through this moment. This is temporary. I'm a very busy person. I'm very creative in my work. I'm always finding ways to bring healing and bring message to others. But I was only 50% online before anyhow. I was 50% by phone, remote, online. And now being fully online, I'm so accessible to people, and they didn't realize how easy it was to connect this way. I actually feel that being remote I get message faster. There's not the distraction of being in person.
Yeah.
So, I think that you'll hear this from many spiritualists that we are in what I call the Great Awakening. This is what the world needed because ego was intervening with what people really need. It was all about want. And so right now, this is teaching people the vulnerability of being human. And it's helping them reassess what really matters in life. And I feel like that's what my job is right now, is to show people what really matters. It is shifting the world, but I see all of the good coming out from it. The helpers and healers are in full force right now.
Which of your skills are being called upon? Because you do a whole bunch of different things. I mean, for example, hypnosis, I'm going to guess, I don't know, but that's better more in person probably, right?
It is better in person,
Yeah.
mainly because the atmosphere. Unless someone knows they have a very quiet house and a comfortable place to sit while they're receiving it, it's not the easiest thing to do. I've done it. I'd prefer to have a more controlled environment. So I prefer that in person, but I have done a few remote Zoom sessions, and it was effective because the person didn't have a dog, they didn't have kids. I mean, it really has to be the perfect atmosphere to do it.
Yeah.
Right now, I am doing what I call time link readings, and that's where I'm tapping into all that stuff I was talking about. Could be medical intuition, what's going on with my work, money flow, connecting to a loved one for reassurance. Marriage is a mess right now. How do I fix it? I'm worried about my son. What is it? I don't know. So I'm doing a lot of verbal messaging with channeling right now. I serve about 4,500 clients a year, and that's between group and individual sessions. But I've been doing a lot of Zoom spirit circles. I've had one every night since this started. And that's why I was saying I'm getting a little burned out, but people they need me right now, and I want to be that person. So I actually had to block out some time here and there to bring some balance into my own life. Healers need healing too, so I'm trying to be careful with overextending myself, making sure that I'm connecting to nature and taking care of myself too.
How do you take care of yourself?
I have to tell you that my work, I love it so much, it's not work. I love my work so much that I don't even feel like it's work half the time. Right now, my issue is that so many people need me, where before it was here and there. I only open up for about 4 to 5 hours a day of my work. But right now I'm booked into mid-May, and I tried to open up my schedule because so many people need guidance right now. So I go out in nature. That's the first thing I do. I love yoga when I make time for it in my life. And I'm a very social person. I love people. So anytime I can be around my friends, and most of my friends, they're also spiritualists. So I have a friend that's a shaman. I have a friend that's a witch. I have several friends that are witches. We get together, and let me tell you, it is fun. So I tend to enjoy my work everywhere I go.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say, it's like you must be finishing each other's sentences.
Oh, yeah. It's fun. It's really fun.
Yeah. Wow. So angels, what would you describe? How many angels are there? Are there as many angels as humans or more? And what are they? What was the genesis of angels? I probably should know this as a Catholic and a Christian or whatever, but where do angels come from, and how did they evolve?
Yeah, so the archangels is what I'm working with. Your guardian angels are different. Your guardian angels are high vibration beings that are assigned to you through many lifetimes. So they're assigned to your soul as it evolves through many beings, where the archangels are up there with God energy. A lot of them have evolved from the Bible, from religion, but some of them were actually in human form. I mean, there are so many archangels. I don't even know how many. I think there are 18 of the major archangels, but there are 4 that present the most in showing themselves to people, and that's what we call the 4 pillars. So, I mean, there are angels for, the angel of virtue, law, morals and values. That's Raguel. You would call on Raguel if you were having a legal issue that you needed help with. Archangel Jeremiah, that's an angel that I channeled today. This is the angel of wishes, but it's also the angel of death. This is the angel that comes in and helps you transmute or transition as you're crossing over. And this angel will pull all of the other archangels and all of your loved ones together as you're crossing over to help you as you're crossing. I mean, it's endless, the work that these angels can do for people. Shamwell. Now, if you're looking for love, you're going to ask Shamwell to help. This is the angel of love, but also the angel of tolerance, bringing love into situations. So I could go on forever. I love it.
Do new angels kind of are born and evolve as humanity changes, or are they pretty constant?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. I don't know how to answer that. because I just work with what's here,
Wow.
I
It took
know
me 55
spirit
minutes to
guides
find
are
one.
always changing. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. You mentioned that you're kind of fearless when you go into places. You've never had any experience where you were overwhelmed or afraid of anything and had to call on exterior help like spirit or someone else to help you deal with a situation?
Yes, that's actually a fun question. So the only place that I actually had an experience that drove a little fear in me, everyone in the room saw it happen. I was at the SK Pierce Victorian Mansion. I've been there a lot. The spirits know me well there. And I was in the basement, and there's always a man down there who he's always like poking, prodding, teasing women. I felt him like pinch me on my backside. And someone else said, I felt someone touch my shoulder. We started getting some EVP. The energy started really amping up in the room. Well, all of a sudden, right from the top of my head, there were probably about like 4 or 5 hairs that came straight up off the top of my head, and spirit literally pulled my hair out of my head, and a piece of skin from my hair came out with it. It was crazy. And that actually scared me because like I felt it, and it happened, it really did feel as if it took longer than it was, because I started feeling my hair lifting slowly, and then all of a sudden it was like punk, like they literally pulled my hair out of my head, and then it drifted onto the floor, and my mouth was to the floor.
Yeah.
I could not even believe it happened. That was the only time.
Was that by the cistern, Brandie? Where the
Yes.
drowning? Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And, I don't know if you know Colleen Costello. She was on a show earlier. She mentioned she had a kind of a situation with a male spirit down there, too, that she was talking about. So, yeah.
Yeah, he tends to go towards women and, like, literally pick on them. I don't know if it did not feel mean or hurtful, but it's the first time I've had something that I was scratched once at the Black Swan Inn in Tilton. And that's the other time that I was like, okay, spirit, I got it. I'm going to stop opening up. We're going to respect your space, and we're going to kind of walk away. When they can physically affect you, to me, that's message that it's time to shift the vibration, go somewhere else, and maybe come back. So I don't head on those things. To me, it's a message like, you're invading my space right now, and I'm going to respect that. I don't need an attachment.
Yeah. No. I was at a place, Ventforth Manor.
Oh, yes. That was on my mind today. That's so interesting. I haven't been there in years.
I was at the Paracon, Mass Paracon, the Sam Baltrusis event in the fall. And I was on the second floor. Actually, Stephanie Burke was there. I didn't know her then, but I was on the second floor, and there was a room on the far right. Have you ever been there before?
Yes.
So there's a room as you go up to the second floor in the far end to the right. They're still refinishing it. And there was a woman who was a ghost photographer, and she was like, do you see, she had a really bad vibe there. And she went and got me, said, I was just wandering up by myself. She said, come over here. She said, do you feel anything? Do you see anything over there? I said, no, I don't see anything. And she said there was a man in there. And literally the second time she went with me, apparently, I don't know what he was doing, but she got so shook up, she had to leave. She walked off saying, I didn't sign up for this. And she left the event. And then there was a medium that they always have to walk the place first. And I went down and I said, look, I know you weren't going to tell us stuff, but I just had this thing happen, which I was totally clueless to. Did you feel anything up there? And she said, yeah, she picked up on that same thing too. And it's the classic, a man from a long time ago doesn't respect women and really kind of tries to put them in their place, or is, a little uppity and not very nice to them. I'm talking to different people on the show where there have been, with female psychic mediums, where there's that irrepressible, obnoxious male that was not very respectful and they got to deal with, which is unfortunate.
Right. Yeah, I had experiences there with a woman who was dancing through the hallways. So I only had good things there. And I found out that and I heard her name and everything. It was a woman who actually ran the dance school, or like it's been years since I went. And I looked her up, and I actually contacted the woman, and I wanted to let her know that her mother was there, and she was so happy to hear that. it was kind of a
Wow.
neat connection.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm thinking back to that room. I think there used to be a commune or a hippie commune there, so it may not have
Yes,
been like
there was.
1800s. It may have
Yeah.
been like in the 70s or something, where some jerk that ran it. So I actually,
Mm,
okay, we're up at the hour. I have one more question, and then we're going to ask how people can get a hold of you, or if
sure.
they shouldn't get a hold of you. You're so busy. Let's go positive. You said in channeling stuff. Have you ever come across beyond the angels any spirit that was so amazing, so overwhelmingly perfect or refreshing that that really stood out above any of the spirits that you've come up against?
I absolutely love the energy at the event I'm going to be at again, the Kimball Jenkins estate. The woman who lived there her whole life shows up all over the property, and she was a creative being, she was a musician, she was an artist, and she has, like, when she passed, she left the estate to the city of Concord so that it could continue as an art school. And I absolutely love her energy. She loves when we come there. I feel like I've gotten to know her in spirit. Like I would have loved that woman in real life. I never, she passed, I think, back in the 80s. I never, did get to meet her, but that's one of my favorite interactions. I can't think of her name offhand, but if you ever looked up the history of the Kimball Jenkins estate, she is so active at that property. It's amazing.
I know you have so many businesses that you do, and you're incredibly busy right now, and you have a waiting list. But if someone was going to kind of get on your waiting list or wanted to buy from your store, why don't you just tell us again some places where they can buy some of your stuff from your store and how they can get a reading or whatever you're available to do?
Yeah. And I do open my schedule week to week and try to open up slots for people who are really seeking. It's just I'm incredibly busy, but I love my work, like I said. So the easiest way where you're going to find everything is on brandiewells.com. It's BRANDIE wells.com. And from there, it links to my 555paranormal.com. It links to soulemporium.net. I also have a very exciting new thing coming up, believe it or not, because I love teaching and I want to integrate all of these different things. I'm actually opening a school.
Wow.
I've already registered my name. I'm really excited to launch this. It's not just about me. It's actually going to bring in many different modalities within the field of clairvoyance. So it's going to cover the paranormal, the angelic realm. It's going to cover all the things that I've been learning, channeling, and growing with. That'll be coming up in the next few months. I've been working on it. I've been channeling the content. I've been making some contacts. So this will be a certifiable way to step into this field. And my goal is to launch healers, not just give them that certificate. I want to give them the skills. How do you create a website? How do you gain clients? How do you create a scheduling system? So it's really the A to Z of becoming a clairvoyant, a healer, learning your abilities. So it's everything from just taking a class to a full certificate. So I'm working on that. I'm excited about it. So stay tuned for that as well. But you'll find all that information funneled right through brandiewells.com. You can also book appointments from there. And I do travel. I have a big fan base in Chicago and LA. So I do go to those two areas a lot. So if anyone's listening and you want to connect, just see when I'm going to be in those areas. I have a few trips planned, but who knows what the universe is bringing right now. I keep hearing this is going to break soon. It's gotta, right?
Well, yeah, we hope so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lastly, your store that you mentioned at the beginning. Let's give that one more plug.
Yeah. So soulemporium.net. And I do have tea, herbs, candles, crystals, soulemporium.net. Also follow me on social media, Soul Emporium Keen. I put out a lot of wonderful content too. Uplifting, enlightening posts, fun, humor is essential to life. So feel free to follow me on social media as well. I do a lot of reading giveaways as well. If you go to Brandie Wells Compassionate Clairvoyant fan page, and I also do a lot of online Facebook Lives and stuff to get a little taste of my work.
Well, thank you so much for your time today, Brandie. I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. Nice to meet you, and love and light to you.
You've been listening to the Afraid of Nothing podcast. Please subscribe and like us on Facebook. Until next time, stay scared.
Hey, you're still here? Great. Then why not listen to another episode? Visit afraidofnothingpodcast.com to peruse all the shows. That's afraidofnothingpodcast.com. And while you're there, click the coffee cup icon to buy me a coffee and leave a review. I'll give you a shout-out in an upcoming episode, and the world will know how swell you are.